Bases dropped, and I'm back for the morning. Soccer down here on a Tuesday. It's Tuesday Thoughts. A little bit disjointed yesterday, and thanks for everybody who came on to hop on in the afternoon drive version. As Maddie Cruz on the ones and twos yesterday, she probably lost about a half an inch off of her fingertips from all of the editing and posting that she did yesterday, from all of the stuff that was going on, from all of the Monday All-Stars. Abe Gordon came on yesterday and caught up with Maddie. Bart Keeler caught up with Maddie yesterday. And so if you missed those are on the platform over at Spreaker. And we got our Atlanta United fix, got our fix having to do with what's going on with Bart and Taylor Swift, I imagine, and reffing down here. And I imagine they were discussing the PSRA and pro and all of that fun going back and forth. So those conversations and a lot of the stuff from the weekend when we had a busy time in Huntsville, Alabama. And once again, thanks to everybody there at Huntsville City Football Club and Chattanooga FC and South Georgia Tormenta and Alabama Huntsville and the city of Huntsville. Like I said, it's not every day that you get the mayor to come on to be your first guest at halftime for game number one, Tommy Battle. But thanks to everybody there, Chad Emerson, Jacob Rayban, everybody with Hunt City, Jack Collison. It was a great blast-off battle, and it's fun to do those kinds of things, just as much fun to come back home. And yesterday was a field trip. And so probably going to see the field trip. Don't know how much of it, but it was a fun thing. And for those of you that make it inside Mercedes-Benz, you might get to see the fruit of what's going on in short order. So that's your update. And we'll talk about anything that you might have wanted to talk about yesterday coming out of the weekend. We'll do that in hour number 2. Because bottom of the hour, friend of the network, Glenn Davis, the voice of the Houston Dynamo, coming on, one of the great ambassadors and professors of the game. It's great to always catch up with Glenn. We're going to get his perspective on Houston and the successful season that they had under Ben Olsen. And as they get ready for the CONCACAF Hemispheric Extravaganza, they're getting ready for that. They take on All Caps SC coming up in short order. And then they got the season. We'll talk about the Western Conference with Glenn. We'll probably talk about Messi and friends, because that's the hot topic as they get closer and closer to possibly, probably, maybe, perhaps getting the Federico Redondo signing over the bar after the discussion about Franco Escobar being moved over. So we'll see what Glenn has to say, considering that the league kicks off tomorrow, I think, if I remember correctly. So you get the one match, and then everybody else kind of waits. We get to see what's going on. But Glenn Davis will be hanging out with us at the bottom of the hour. Like I said, it's always fun to catch up with Glenn to get his perspectives on everything. So, yeah, 8 o'clock, Miami and RSL on Apple TV and Season Pass. So that's your first match, and then we get Thursday and Friday off to get ready for everything going on the planet Major League Soccer. So, seriously, if there's anything that we left on the table yesterday, Ricky, yes, these are the kind of questions that we have that we need to be a part of what's going on. Yes, it is. Make sure that you follow Jason Wright and the Jason Wright Agency on the 280 character app. So I know it exists, and I know that they were trying to figure out how to get it all squared away. So Jason Wright with a WAGEN on the 280 character app, Jason Wright Agency on the Facebooks. And then we can everybody dive into the fantasy league. So maybe we need to I need to yell at Jason to post the info all over again. But yes, the league is returning. So from every indication, it is returning, and everybody's getting all gassed up, because I thought I saw those notifications in our emails and our socials last week. Morning Four Card, morning Alex, morning Ropes. I know Ropes, you're still in Tom Russo, the Airborne DJ, are still trying to recover from what happened yesterday. We will have some Everton news in hour number 2. So our friend Filippo Clare over at Yosemite Football, they've found some more information about what's going on with the current state of affairs with 777. So we'll have that in hour number 2 as well. Morning, Ricky. Morning from Orange County. Up early. Orange and Black Soccer Cast from our friends at the Orange County, it's followers of Orange County SC. Man, you guys are up early. I give you full credit. Morning, Abby. Yes, enter and Messi and friends tomorrow. And yeah, we're going to get into Mbappe coming up in just a little bit, because that news came out as well. News from Jurgen Klopp came out about the Cup final, and it's not good news. Looks like Jota and Jones are injured. They won't be a part of the process. And so we'll keep an eye on all of that stuff. So it looks like we'll have that. We'll have anything on your mind from yesterday that you didn't get to talk about. So it's Mbappe, it's Everton, it's Open Cup, because Jeff Carlisle had a piece yesterday about how Open Cup could look. And so we'll have news on that, and Everton, and anything else on your mind. But like I said, Glenn Davis coming up bottom of the hour, and we'll catch up with Glenn as we kind of get our previews going for everything going on in Major League Soccer. So opening kickoff brought to us by our friends at Kickoff Coffee, kickoffcoffeeco.com. And there's your QR code. Thanks to Abby and everybody who is watching us, however you are doing so, either it's on the 280 character app or on Twitch or on our YouTube channel. That's the QR code that Abby made that was a lot better than mine. So there you go. QR code from our friends at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. Use that QR code. Don't forget to use the code SoccerDownHere15. You get 15% off your purchase. They, in turn, take 10% reinvested into youth games, youth initiatives that they have earmarked. Very, very cool stuff from our friends at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. All right, so it's housekeeping. Tonight, it is the Tuesday night throwdown on SDH. We've got high school action at 6 and at 8 on our Mixlr channel, soccerdownhere.mixlr.com, soccerdownhere.mixlr.com, and it's a doubleheader from North DeKalb Stadium involving Chamblee High School. Chamblee High girls ranked nationally. Soleil Washington, we followed her, especially with her time at the Women's World Cup last year. And Chamblee is going to be taking on Stars Mill at 6 o'clock. Jason will have the call for that one at 6. Boys to follow, it is Pope and Chamblee at 8 o'clock. So 6 and 8 o'clock tonight, soccerdownhere.mixlr.com. Set your notifications on our social media, and then you'll know when we're up and running. So doubleheader tonight, and it is girls first, Chamblee girls, Stars Mill. Boys to follow, Chamblee boys, Pope at 8 o'clock from North DeKalb Stadium, and you can listen to that, soccerdownhere.mixlr.com. Friday, it is the SDH game of the week, and it's a fun doubleheader. It is a fun doubleheader. We are going to Johnson Gainesville. We're going to the Castle, and it is Northwest Whitfield. It is the Whitfield County Hall County Challenge. Northwest Whitfield, if I could get my tongue to work, Northwest Whitfield is going to take on East Hall first, and then it's going to be Dalton and Johnson Gainesville. So those two games, 5:30, 7:30 from the Castle at Johnson Gainesville. Maddie and I will be up there for those, and you can catch up with us there. Once again, the Friday night game of the week, and it'll be real cool to see everybody for the first time up at Johnson Gainesville, and we'll be able to – the place will be packed. So, I mean, if you're planning on going, all I'm going to say is this: get there early. Get there early, and I'm not kidding, because good luck getting a seat. Also, tomorrow, it is the official 2024 season kickoff, and we are at Elsewhere Brewing in the greenhouse location on West Marietta Street, and we'll be live from 6 to 8, and we will catch up with Sarah Kate Knopfsinger. Kate Knopfsinger, Atlanta United's VP and Chief Business Officer, is going to be with us, and we'll catch up about everything Atlanta United and what's going on getting you ready for 2024. So Skate Knopfsinger is going to be with us at Elsewhere Brewing, the new greenhouse location, 950 West Marietta Street from 6 to 8. And we'll catch up, and we'll end up with what's on your mind and see what Skate's been up to in the offseason, getting ready for the 2024 season. So once again, brought to us by our friends at Kaiser Permanente. It is the 2024 season kickoff for SDH. Thanks to Scott Flood and the Flood Project for putting this together. So Tuesday night games of the week, the Tuesday night throwdown. Wednesday, Elsewhere Brewing, 6 to 8, live show in the greenhouse location. Skate Knopfsinger is going to be there, 950 West Marietta Street. Then you get Thursday off. You get Thursday off to rest. And then Friday, we get the doubleheader, the Whitfield County, Hall County doubleheader, and we'll have that for you on the network. And then Saturday, if you're going to Columbus, good on you. if you're watching with friends and however you might be partaking the match in Columbus, it's the kickoff of the season, and it's going to be real fun to get the 2024 season kicked off coming up in just a little bit. So that's your housekeeping for the week. Guests coming up this week. Tomorrow morning, bat and leadoff. It's the radio play-by-play voice of Nashville SC, Lucas Panzica. He's going to come parachuting in right off the top of the show. Hopefully, Dylan Butler, the busiest man in show business, can join us at 10 o'clock to continue the previews of everybody up in the Eastern Conference. And we'll get Dylan's perspective there. Jason's going to join us Thursday morning at 10, and he will let you know what's on his mind as you get ready for the Atlanta United season, what he's seen in the offseason, and at practice and at training and on the exhibition games, because he and Mike got the chance to hit the road, except for the last one that we know existed because the score was posted. But Jason will be with us 10 o'clock on Thursday morning. Nico Moreno coming back from his time in Colombia with family. And so Nico will be with us 10:30 to give the Pacific perspective. We'll go Western Conference ideas with Nico at 10:30 on Thursday. And our friends from Beyond Goals at 9:30 Friday morning. And we are efforting another guest, another golden ticket holder, for 10 o'clock on Friday. And then obviously we'll wrap up the week with the weekend whip around, patent pending, trademark coming sooner, hopefully, rather than later. So very, very busy week here at SDH, and a very, very busy week in a couple of different places when it comes to what we're doing, where we are, and what you got on the network. So very, very cool stuff across the board. Reminder. That's the scarf to help out our friends at the Marshall Islands Soccer Federation. We've actually had some folks who were interested in the scarves from Alabama and just shipped some of those out yesterday. So that's the scarf to help out our friends at the Marshall Islands Soccer Federation. And if you'd like to see Abby and have the Abstermobile deliver it to you, we could do that. $32 is the cost. If you want it shipped, it's probably an extra $5 going to the post office, something like that. So $32 goes to help out the Marshall Islands Soccer Federation as they are starting their program. Literally the last nation on this planet without a national soccer team. And we are helping them. You've heard their stories a lot here on the network. And as they continue to grow and come back here to the States to be a part of the Marshallese population here, once again, they're looking to come by a couple of times. One, early. The front office looking to come early to the four corners of Arkansas, Missouri, Kansas, and Oklahoma. Northwest Arkansas and eastern Oklahoma is where a lot of the Marshallese population has repopulated when it left the islands back in the 50s and 60s and came here to the States. So looking to do some things in October in that part of the country, looking to come and perhaps do a little scouting ahead of time in the spring. So this is to help out the Marshall Islands Soccer Federation. $32. You can Venmo me, you can DM me, you can email me, you can email the show. However you want to help out the Marshall Islands, however you want to contact us. It's in the Discord for those of you that haven't had the chance to take a peek in the Discord. But it's $32 for each scarf. Everything goes to them once our costs are covered, and we're going to keep doing it. And this is where Maddie has become an international modeling sensation, because she's the one on the website for the Marshall Islands Soccer Federation modeling the scarf. So Maddie is going to be taking a lot of stuff with her when she leaves us in the summer. Maybe, hopefully, she won't leave us in the summer. But when her internship is done and she's collected all of her hours and her credit, she's going to have a big dossier of stuff that she was able to help us out with, and that's part of it, helping out a fundraising program for a national soccer federation. And so you can do that too. $32. It's a summer scarf, and we're shipping them out. And if you want to see Abby can deliver it to you as well. So $32 for the Marshall Islands Soccer Federation scarf. You can help them out. You can help out the show. You can help out a country that is trying to build a soccer tradition right there. $32. And it is really cool scarf design. And once again, thanks to our friends at the Marshall Islands Soccer Federation for letting us help out. And so you can help out too right there. $32 on the scarf. DM us, email, however you want to get in touch with us, and Abby can deliver it to you. So there you go. So you got all that. All right. So Abby is letting us know about the block party and everything else that's going on as we are getting ready for the weekend. ISC had a statement on the Open Cup, and Abby says, bought a new used printer, working on that while listening. Same printer, just used since hers died. They don't make them like they used to. Absolutely true. Yes, Rich, the CONCACAF Hemispheric Extravaganza. We're going to be talking about that. And Abby's going to try to be at the program. Just feel better. Just we know that you're coming back from feeling like crap. But glad that you're on the mend. Block party Saturday with a watch party. Remember, yes, that is the case. Morning Dawn Star and Abby, yes, Tiago is back. Tiago is back. He is back. That is absolutely true. Because where I was yesterday, there was time for both he and Caleb Wiley to show up in the same location. Not to do the same thing, mind you, with me and my field trip, but nevertheless, yes, they were supposed to be in the same building. So I know that existed yesterday. So and morning, Tom. Like I said, hour number 2, we're going to talk about Everton because there's some stuff about 777 to get into. And obviously, Ropes and Tom got to commiserate yesterday with the 1-1 draw with Everton and with Crystal Palace, whose new coach, Oliver Glasner, was there watching. He was not part of the touchline discussions, but he was there watching after Roy Hodgson has decided to resign, or however you want to phrase it, because of what's been going on with Crystal Palace. So Oliver Glasner is now going to be in charge on the touchline, and he's got a contract through 25-6, I believe. So we'll see what happens with Glasner, who is looking forward to a lot of pressing, and we'll see what happens and how it translates to the current roster at Crystal Palace. So there you go. News about Mbappe before Glenn Davis joins us at the bottom of the hour. And it appears that Kylian Mbappe has agreed to a wage and has agreed to things and stuff, in the official term, when it comes to what the next steps are for Kylian Mbappe and Real Madrid. And the numbers are something close to staggering from what we understand. And he has apparently already signed the contract, transfer bonus, once again, courtesy of our friends at Marsa. So signing for 5 years. According to our friends at Marsa, Carlos Carpio, Mbappe and Real Madrid have an agreement signed 2 weeks ago, and as of July 1st, becomes a brand new player for Real Madrid. Once again, the pursuit starting in 2017, and it came to a close. So, met with PSG last Tuesday to inform him he would be leaving the club on June 30. He asked him not to be presented with any renewal offer because he'd already put his signature on the deal to tie him to Real Madrid for 5 seasons, as had been suspected for quite some time. PSG was already more than interested in fulfilling the commitment agreed to in the summer, waived the very significant amount of the loyalty bonus to allow him to join the first team. And so beginning of January, according to Marca, Jose Angel Sanchez, who carried out the negotiation on behalf of Real Madrid, figured out that everything would be done by the beginning of February. Sources close to the negotiation place it in a growing escalation covering a range between 15 and 20 million net per year, plus a bonus for objectives during the 5 that the contract will last following the contractual relationship that Real Madrid usually offers their players in recent times. But this extreme could not be confirmed by Marca. During the last 2 seasons at PSG, after the renewal, Mbappe had been paid $32 million net, 72 gross. Signing bonus reduced. To that amount must be added the signing bonus player receives for arriving for the fee of the contract. At that point, should be recalled during the last week of August 21, Real Madrid offered PSG first an offer for 160, then went up to 180. In the firm agreement between Mbappe and Real Madrid for 2022, they had agreed on a transfer bonus for 130, which has also been slightly reduced. So for all the concepts, and this is Google translated, once prorated amount of the signing bonus would not reach 50 million net. Figure half of what he received at PSG this season, 212 million gross, adding salary 72, renewal bonus 60, loyalty bonus 80. So it's the numbers are out there, and he is going to be handed the iconic shirt numbers. So you'll have all of that stuff with Mbappe. And so Mbappe apparently now he's going to be given the 10. And so we'll see what it looks like with Kylian Mbappe. But everything apparently, allegedly, possibly, probably signed. and it looks like that everything is somewhat in the barn with Kylian Mbappe. And now his time at Real Madrid will start at the end of the season, and we will see what the actual numbers yet. Covey saw a call, came on this morning, said it's not a done deal yet, going to become a Real Madrid player. Guillaume Balaguer says that he has agreed to it. So literally, you're like, here we go, blah, blah, blah. Balaguer not signed a contract with Real. The deal could be announced once it's no longer possible for the clubs to meet in this season's Champions League. So they're waiting for that. Mbappe wanted his future sorted out before March. So on the 13th of February last week, before training, that's what we got into. So after reports emerged last Thursday, left out of the starting lineup for Saturday's match against Nantes, set to sign a 5-year deal, earning €15 million a year, $150 million signing bonus to be paid over 5 years. So it's $30 million in signing bonus prorated, keeping a percentage of his image rights. Ancelotti has already thought about how he'll use Mbappe. Jude Bellingham playing a deeper role, Vinicius Jr. playing on the left, Mbappe playing left of center. If Croat midfielder Luka Modric leaves this summer, Mbappe would then inherit the number 10 that he wears for France. And so that's where we are. And there was also discussion that came out this morning that if Luka Modric decides he wants to retire, then Ancelotti would like for him to be a part of the coaching staff at Real Madrid. So you've got that to consider, but also there is talk, and we know how talk is, that Luka Modric could be the next person added to Messi and friends in the summer window. So we'll see what happens there. And there you go. And so Luka Modric might be the next one. Hell, with Luis Suarez in his knees, it might be sooner rather than later. And we are still awaiting the be-all, end-all signing on Federico Redondo and see if that's going to happen before Wednesday. And if there are any other moves that have to be done by Messi and friends to get in the barn and be compliant by Wednesday. So let's get the latest on Federico Redondo, just so we have it. Once again, and this is the time where you're supposed to check your sources and all this kind of stuff. There is talk. And once again, check your sources, check your numbers for the followers and everything. Apparently, Redondo, according to some, is supposed to travel in the next few hours to join Messi and friends. Up to 8.5 for Redondo. 5 million fixed, bonuses that go up to 8.5 for Redondo. And then once again, it's 8 million. Cesar Luis Merlo, once again yesterday, remember. Redondo from Argentinos Juniors. Transfer contracts under the conditions requested. Leaves in exchange for 8 million, bonuses included. So 8 million max. Capital gains, once again, 15% of the pass held on to. And he will sign until December of 2027. Cesar Luis Merlo, A-list source. A-list source. Cesar Luis Merlo, he is top dollar sourcing. Ricky wants to know, are they making offers for Escobar and with what money? We can talk to Glenn Davis about this, considering the last locale for Franco Escobar was playoff Franco Escobar in Houston. And so we'll have, maybe we can add that to the dossier of things to discuss with our upcoming guest, because it's always fun to have this gentleman on, who is a true gentleman scholar, great guy for the game and what it means, a fantastic ambassador. And we always have to have the introduction be what it is, because then it would not be the proper introduction for this guy.
Soccer matters.
It does matter.
Hey, Glenn Davis here in Houston, Texas, a big fan of soccer down here. And remember, soccer matters.
And this is what happens, when you hit the button and you play it, just to make sure that it plays, Glenn, and it plays all the way right to the end, and it doesn't re-cue itself. So good morning.
Good morning. I appreciate that intro. I feel like the world's greatest rock and roll band, the Rolling Stones, right now.
Well, are you Mick or Keith, sir?
Wow. I love the differences in those two guys, but put them together and the songwriting, the lyrics, and everything that goes along with it. By the way, they opened their world tour in Houston in April, which is pretty crazy.
And have you gotten tickets already?
I do the waiting game because I want to get into the pit. So I kind of wait till maybe they nosedive. Hopefully.
Glenn Davis and the mosh pit for the Rolling Stones. That is a vision that I now have in my head.
Yeah, I'm not sure how many are moshing down there, but there are. It's interesting. It is a mix of young and old, which is kind of cool. But anyway.
All right. So if the 2023 season for the Houston Dynamo was a Rolling Stones tune, which song would you pick and why?
Ooh, that's a good one. I would say there's a song from the Some Girls album called Respectable.
Okay.
It was a reclaiming of respect after many years of a barren product.
Okay. Well, so we will take that. And so, with everything that happened with the Dynamo last year, great news earlier in the week, the re-signing of Coco Carrasquilla to the mix as well. What do you think, with everything that was accomplished and the growth under Ben Olsen, who I think was criminally left out of the Coach of the Year discussion?
Yeah.
Everything that happened last season, what are some of the lessons that you could take with the 2023 season and apply them to 2024, even with the successes that were had by Houston?
So I think the first thing that I think we all know, and is there was a massive turnover in the roster. So being respectful, the quality of the player and the roster and the extension of the roster just exponentially improved with 17 new players. And then I think over the course of the season, you saw the beauty of Major League Soccer, and that is that you have time to get things right. And you hit July, you hit the Leagues Cup, you get the emergence of Griffin Dorsey right back, and all of a sudden things are clicking, and it's a very good defensive team. From the word go, it was a good defensive team. From the word go, it was a good possession team. So what do we take into this year? I don't know. I think one of the big questions is not a lot was done up front. So they've had to bring back Sebas Ferreira from Vasco da Gama, where he didn't score. And I think in some ways almost the Dynamo are forced to try and make him work and build a little bit of a system around him to kind of accentuate his strengths. And I think he's also probably realized he's going to have to do some things differently at the striker position. So that combined with injuries is going to make it a very interesting start to the season.
And with the CONCACAF Hemispheric Extravaganza that Houston is attached to and getting ready for that, I mean, it is picking up. Business is picking up real quick. And you're having to do with a couple of different lanes of traffic here and get into a season, get into a competition. I mean, it's chaos early, man.
Yeah, I think so. But, I always flip that in the other direction. I always hear everybody, it's tough. Success breeds more competition. But it also breeds more opportunity and more opportunity for people to be together, play games, train. So I like to flip that one. And, look, coaches in MLS consistently say, well, it's a long season. And, you kind of, from our perspective on the outside, you get tired of that. But it is the absolute, honest to God truth. And you have a lot of time to fix things. So there's no urgency right now. I mean, look, I don't think the Dynamo are happy that Herrera is injured, that Nelson Quinones is out for the year. But on the other hand, it allows and gives opportunity to others. You will see some people emerge and take the opportunity. Some won't. And in the case of Hector Herrera, honestly, I think shortening his season is probably the best thing that could happen to him.
Definitely, when you want him for your stretch run and the push and the postseason and all those kinds of things, definitely.
What he put in last year was almost inhumane. I mean, physically at his age, his influence on the game. I mean, I think that's going to be the interesting thing is to see without him, who they're going to play through a little bit more, who becomes a decision maker, because that guy made so many decisions for you last year. But I do think what we saw him do last year was extraordinarily special.
One of the topics that every time you come on to the show that I like to get into, because we want to get into the growth of the game, we want the game to grow, we want it to grow there in Houston, is the fan response, and is it warming up to the successes that were there in 2023? What was it like there in the building in 2023 with the successes and the run late and getting into everything that happened? And what's the response been maintained in the offseason getting ready for 24? Or is it still more of the same that we keep talking about, sadly?
I think their season tickets are up some after the run they went on last year. But you have to remember, they were last in attendance in the league. Okay, the playoffs didn't sell out. There were great crowds. Don't get me wrong. There was great energy in the building. No question. The relevancy is still not where it should be in Houston. There's a lot of competition, but that's not an excuse. This is an amazing soccer city. So, for me, with the 2026 World Cup being here, and you guys in Atlanta have it as well, and I mean, there's all kinds of things. I mean, Atlanta all of a sudden is becoming the epicenter of the game here. There is such an opportunity to market all the diverse cultures in Houston that love the sport. I mean, we've got a massive Nigerian community, Central American, South American, Asian communities. I mean, you name it, we have it. And to me, that's really the direction you got to go. And I know we do all these other things, which I think are fine if they're the tertiary thing. But with the World Cup being here, you have to go to the passion of people's countries, the passion of their sport, highlight their countries, and create that common thread that would certainly pay back to Houston Dynamo.
So then, I mean, I always seem to ask this question because I want the city to survive and I want it to thrive and I want it to grow. What do we do here? I mean, obviously having the World Cup in 26, that's big.
Mm-hmm.
But what do we do in the interim to create momentum, even with the successes that seem to be that are there with the Dynamo? You're not selling out the building. Response is there. What do we do to grow it in the interim between now and 26?
I mean, what more can you want here? You got Copa America coming. You got Guatemala and El Salvador selling the stadium out. Honduras selling the stadium. I mean, you attach yourself to this stuff. And you attach yourself to the authentic soccer fan. I don't think it has to be this magical, super hip. I mean, I like that stuff. I think you have to do a lot of that stuff for the younger set for sure. But there's authenticity here. There's people coming from countries that, they're not sitting in padded seats. They're sitting on slabs of concrete that love soccer. And, if you want somebody in your building when it's 90 degrees drinking beer, it's probably not going to be the NBA fan, okay? If you know what I mean. Yeah. So I just think getting back to the thing that makes us love this game, and the stuff that moves. I watched Luton Town against Manchester United this past weekend, and you may have too, John.
Yep.
And what I saw at the end of that game was just like, God, I need more of that, because everything's becoming so commercial and trendy, and and I was just like, man, look at those people in that provincial town applauding their guys. They lost 2-1, but they saw them put their blood and sweat into this game against Manchester and play quite well, frankly, with far less resources. I mean, that's the connection I dig.
Especially you get a place like Kenilworth Road where, there are certain entrances into the Kenny where you're going between row homes.
Yeah. It's so cool though, right? I mean,
the building needed $12 million in renovations to make it TV compatible.
Yeah.
So they had to push everything back, but you get that kind of an environment at the Kenny. And I mean, anyone should kill for that kind of environment and have that kind of flavor, but you can still attach it to the building that you're in your own way.
Yeah.
And I think that's the key here for all of this as it continues to grow.
And the behavior of the fan in that game, all we ever hear is the stupid behavior of fans. And to watch what those fans did was a real lesson, I thought, for all of us.
No doubt. We do have our own stupidity down here segments, sadly, and those happen here on the show more often than not. When it comes to the Western Conference this year on the whole, outside of what's going on in Houston, what are you staring at? Because at cursory glance, I think LAFC has only like 18 players, so they kind of need to sign folks. And
Yeah.
they bring in Hugo Lloris, who was just like, "Yeah, it's cool. I'll come out, and you can pay me like $12 and an RTD card or something, and then everything will be fine." I still got questions. I mean, Seattle to me is looking good. I'm interested to see what's going on in Portland with a coaching change. Colorado is spending money. I don't know what they did with Stan Kroenke, but apparently Stan Kroenke has been hit over the head and he's got amnesia and he's spending money in Colorado now.
I agree with that one. That's a great take.
I mean, what did you do with Stan Kroenke and who is this Stan Kroenke?
In the early days of HDNet, because they were based out of Denver, we used to do a lot of games there. Marcelo Balboa and I, and we actually toured the stadium when it was being built, and so we were there a lot, and we just used to just wonder, here's Kroenke, Arsenal, all the stuff, and just where was the investment in the product on the field? So yeah, I don't know. That's a great take, though.
I mean, you had All Caps SC, who you're playing in the CONCACAF Hemispheric Extravaganza. They were great in the regular season because, once again, they're the new toy. You don't know how to handle something Red Bullsian, but then you get them into the postseason, they get exposed. RSL in Vancouver and Dallas and, Zombie Sporting Kansas City. Peter Vermes says that he can't sign any DPs. They'll find some, sofa pizza and some coins under the cushions in the summer, and they'll find some guys and they'll make their push. When you look at the rest of the West, what do you see?
Well, right now, obviously, look, I think we have to applaud the clubs that consistently every year are there, right? The LAFCs, the Seattles, the Sporting Kansas Cities, they've truly established roots. I think RSL is now under Mastroeni. It's always going to be a difficult team to play. We'll see what happens with Colorado. But I think you just accented what I had said earlier, and that is, to even begin to judge and predict now in the first half of the season before the transfer window, it's almost like flipping a coin, right? Because teams emerge into different things. They morph into different things based on a signing, based on an emergence of somebody. I mean, we saw that perfectly with the Houston Dynamo last year, right? So that's the league we're in. So we can all sit here and predict all we want now, but these aren't the finished products. The coaches know that. They know they have time. And that comes with playing in Major League Soccer in a playoff system. The consequence, let's be fair, it's not that great at the beginning of the year, right? It really isn't. I look close here in Texas since we have 3 teams. I'm always looking to see what Dallas is going to do. I always look at Austin. I think Austin's in a bit of trouble. And I think 2 years ago, and I think that's a good thing for the Houston Dynamo, obviously, to compare themselves to, because they had that amazing season with Driussi, who was spectacular. Houston had this amazing season with Hector Herrera. Austin FC was 1 game away from it, and the next year just absolutely collapsed. And if we remember, Violet in Haiti and CONCACAF was the team that set them in this downward spiral, and they were never able to come out of it. And yes, they had some injuries. Yes, they lost Ruben Gabrielson, but I think I don't know where they're going to be. They're going to still pack them in Austin, but again, to me, the whole thing is I don't get too. I like to just watch the whole thing progress, because this is the league, and I know it's fun for us to sit here, but I think some of the usual suspects are going to be there, and those franchises have to be applauded for their investment, their knowledge, because at the end of the day, some teams are just better at putting staffs together, marketing their clubs, producing players for their club. That's another thing here in Houston that just has been abysmally missed. And I say that respectfully, and when you can get guys through your academy into your first team, I use the word cheap labor. Some people don't like that. They think it's derogatory, but I think you know what I mean. It doesn't count against the salary cap. So I think these are all issues now that make it interesting, make it fun, and are certainly areas that can be improved.
There are 2 teams that I left out on purpose from the West. One is LAG, and what we're seeing with Greg Vanney, or what we're not seeing with Greg Vanney, and where LAG just seems to continue to spend money poorly, and flounder. And I'm fairly certain that Vanney is going to be one of those folks that a lot of folks are going to grab out the magnifying glass and look at early in the season, and keep a close eye. The other's Minnesota United, and I look at what the Loons are currently, and the only thing I can say is it's a mess, because you let Adrian Heath go with a couple of matches left in last season. Okay, fine. But, if you're not making the playoffs, I didn't see the point. Just let him finish the year out. Let him do his time. He gets the palatial wave on the lap, and you're done. Then you go through not one, but two substitute teachers. Your chief soccer officer decides you were trying to figure out a visa issue, and he didn't want to apparently consort with his players until they were in preseason camp in Tucson, and until he could be there. And now it looks like the Manchester United 31-year-old assistant, Eric Ramsey, is close to being named the new head coach. And last time I checked, now, correct me if I'm wrong here, Glenn, but I'm staring at the schedule, and like I said, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm looking at the schedule, and I see that Saturday, February 24th at 8:30 in the evening, Austin is playing Minnesota United. So 4 days before the season, and now you finally, possibly, probably, maybe have your head coach, who's a 31-year-old who was coming from Manchester United. What in the ever-loving loon hell is going on in Minnesota?
Well, I think it goes back to our point of looking at the franchises historically that have been able to be consistent and have consistent front offices, have a consistent theme and the way they go about doing things. And I think we have to learn to appreciate the clubs who have been the best at doing that. Mm-hmm. And I think it gets back to my point that just like in any business in the world, there are some that are better than others at it. There are some that are qualified to be in these positions, and there's some that are not qualified. Not everybody's qualified to be in the positions they are in Major League Soccer. That may be the sell to the public, but that doesn't mean they're necessarily qualified. Now, maybe they're not in the beginning and they're being given time to grow. But, to add a 31-year-old coach who, I don't know what his head coaching experience is, and because he's attached to Manchester United, that certainly does sound good. I'm sure he's a knowledgeable guy, but he's 31. Mm-hmm. And, he's going to have players that are older than him or close to his own age. So simply from team management, we'll see how that works. Now, maybe it turns out to be a raving success. I'm not rooting against them, but you can see the teams that are in a little bit of turmoil now, and I think that's what you're pointing out. And they'll have times to correct themselves, or they could go into a downward spiral and never really compete.
All right, Glenn Davis hanging out with us here at ESPN 97.5 in Houston. Soccer Matters, one of the great gurus, one of my oracles when it comes to the sport here in this country.
I'm glad you're on my side, John.
Hey, man, anytime, and twice on Tuesday. When it comes to the rules of engagement for Major League Soccer, and specifically I'm referring to the cap and salary and what counts and what doesn't, and who's making what and what applies, and how much room you have or you don't have. And yes, this is a veiled question about Messi and friends and what's going on in Fort Lauderdale. Does it drive you crazy as much as it does me and everybody else, not knowing how much they don't have to spend to go up against the cap? How far over the cap are they? What do they have to do? Do the rules of engagement drive you crazy when it comes to this kind of stuff?
It's almost like the mystical flight of the ball. Sometimes we just don't know what the heck's going on. I mean, all the rules, and I think it is confusing. Listen, I understand the reasoning why it all started, and that was to make sure the league survived. But yeah, it is confusing. I think a lot of people are confused with all the names that are going to Miami. I don't think they're necessarily getting the deals everybody thinks they're getting, because there is this migration of the lemmings to Miami. Everybody wants to live in Miami right now. Mm-hmm. Nothing wrong with that. But I think it can be confusing to the fans. I'm okay with the Miami thing because whether it crashes or not, it's getting a lot of attention. I think people are tiring of the amount of effort that's being put into Messi to monetize him for the league, right? Like you only got the golden goose for so long, right? So we're throwing him out on world tours. Every article that's written about it on MLS Soccer is about Messi. Um, there's a lot of other things that we need to really build up and enjoy in this league. And there's a lot of other good players. And you guys have Miles Robinson going to Cincinnati. I mean, that's the story. You now have Dax McCarty coming. There's a lot of great guys that we have to build up. I know there's only one Messi, and to have acquired him is pretty remarkable. To grab a celebrity soccer player like that and plop him down in Major League Soccer. And I know you want to get everything you could possibly get out of him. But I think for guys like you and me and a majority of the fans, there's a lot of other great storylines in this league. And don't get me wrong, I'm glad he's here. I think he is a remarkable athlete. I think he's a remarkable human from the standpoint of humility. And I think it's great to see somebody that high profile that doesn't need social media, doesn't need all this other stuff to build himself up, doesn't seem to even care about that, and just goes out and plays. And, there are people falling at his feet. So, we'll see. But listen, rest assured, I didn't mean to say listen, rest assured, every game Inter Miami plays with what is looking like an older roster, everybody's going to give them their best game, because some young guy that's out of college and is a rookie, or somebody that's unknown, is going to say, this is my one chance to play against Lionel Messi, and it's a day I want to be good. It's a day I want to do something. And I think in turn that also accelerates everybody on his team as well. Can you imagine being a young guy and all of a sudden you're playing next to and flying on a plane all over the world with Lionel Messi?
Yeah, I mean, Griffin Dorsey, I don't think he didn't back down last season when they were down there in at Fort Lauderdale going up against him.
No. I mean, Messi didn't play that night, but Griffin Dorsey, I mean, there's a great story. He just brought one up in the league. And I mean, of course, that's connected here to Houston, but here's a guy that's been fighting like an animal to make it. 2 years ago, could get forward and couldn't deliver a quality ball. And Griffin has worked so hard on his game and has refined his game. I mean, it's almost mind-blowing. And he was the turnaround for Houston last year because he brought them width. And he's been rewarded with a new contract. I'm a big fan of guys like that because as an American player growing up in the American system, we all know what that means.
No doubt about it. A couple of minutes left with you so you can go back to studying and getting ready for the 2024 season. One of the folks who is a part of our Twitch pitch has a question for you. Mm-hmm. Really am curious what Glenn's thoughts are on Open Cup, given Houston's current status as OC champ.
Yeah, well, that's a good question, Ricky. I just posted something this morning. And look, I, like many people, maybe Ricky played in it, a lot of people have played in the U.S. Open Cup. This is something that binds us together. This is a string in this country. This league is an example of people coming from all parts of the world, bringing the sport they love into ethnic communities. So if you go back in the early days and you look who won this thing, it's New York Greek Americans, it's Maccabi in L.A. I mean, it has this piece of romantic history with the U.S. I don't think it was ever invested in heavily enough. I don't think the message of what it is and where it lies in our history ever got out there. I know a lot of writers worked hard on getting that out there, but never got out there to the masses. Don't think U.S. soccer ever did enough for it. We always saw it was on TV and nobody really did much with it. I've called some U.S. Open Cup finals too. So I think it has that common thread, and it is a piece of sporting history in America, and it's a huge piece of us as an American soccer culture. So it's not going anywhere. It's not going to disappear. It's going to come down to what MLS does and how many teams in play. But there's no way it's going to disappear. It'll still be a tournament that everybody can participate in. Question is, what's MLS going to do with it? Will they put a couple of teams in? The emergence of Leagues Cup is probably hurting the Open Cup, but I don't think it was ever nurtured.
Yeah. Jeff Carlisle said yesterday, one of the sentences in the apparent negotiation, precise level of team participation from MLS and USL clubs is still to be determined. And I think that, frankly, if you'd gotten into a situation like last year where the one game where LAFC basically said, and they were going up against Monterey Bay, and this is one of the examples that we always have given here on the show, is that LAFC said, look, we're taking a lot of our LAFC 2 guys up to Monterey Bay. They're going to be a part of this roster. And it just so happened that Steve Cherundolo started, I want to say, 8 LAFC 2 guys in that starting 11, because you know that he wanted to play but not win it. He wanted to put a team out there, and they still couldn't do that right. They won it in the extra 30 minutes over Monterey Bay, and they kept advancing in the tournament. So he couldn't even punt it correctly last season.
But look, this is what this tournament has become, and listen, I give some credit to coaches here because of the volume of the schedule and all. I don't know if this means you got to expand your rosters more, whatever. The question always is, who's taking the Open Cup serious? Well, look, Houston did the same thing and should have lost to Tampa in the very first game, except for a goal from a young, talented player named Brooklyn Reigns, right? So then all of a sudden you get through 2 or 3 rounds and you're like, okay, let's try to win this. And now you start playing your better players. So I think it's a conundrum. It's not an easy one. Everybody's going to have their take on, we want the serious team played. I mean, now you have Leagues Cup in here, and it's U.S. against Mexico, so that complicates things because you don't want to be embarrassed by Mexican teams. They're monetizing that more, so it's all very, very tricky. But I love the Open Cup. I think a lot of people love it. Obviously, you see the passion.
Give me the lower division teams anytime making the big runs like we saw from Sacramento Republic in short order. Cut the promo, my friend. I'm going to let you enjoy your coffee and get on with your day. So what's going on right now with you, 97.5 Soccer Matters and with the Dynamo?
Yeah, I'm on twice a week now. So I'm really excited because I'm in drive time now, which I don't think there's many radio shows at 6 o'clock in their market when people are in drive time. And I think radio has a lot of challenges now, obviously with podcasting and great shows like yours. I mean, our show's podcasted too, but I still like the live element of it because, callers and things like that. But I had Ben Olsen on last night. So if anybody wants to go to Spotify, Google, or Apple, or any of these places and listen to Soccer Matters, you can subscribe, and we would love that. But every week is great. I'm like you, John. I think we love talking the game with great people, and it's a passion of ours, and it keeps the flame going. And look, as somebody that's been involved in the league since '96 and did TV for 26 years and now kind of moved over into different areas, I think we all took a lot of pride in trying to help this league survive and extol its virtues. And so we keep doing all that.
No doubt about it. At Glenn Davis, SOC on the 280-character app, at ESPN 97.5, Monday and Wednesday, 6 o'clock Central Time, or as the boss calls it here in this particular household, God's time zone. Glenn, it's always great to catch up with you right before the season starts. As you well know, since you are a golden ticket holder, you can crash at any time. Just text me or email me. Dude, I've got something to get off my chest. You can come in and crash. You vent your spleen, get ready for everything. And we can't wait to get the season kicked off. As always, thanks, my friend, for hanging out with us. We'll catch up with you very soon.
Well, John, one thing I do want to say is the local stuff and the local coverage, like you do, and guys do around the country. Let's not let this stuff die because, everything is getting a little bit different here, but let's keep the flame burning. Thank you for everything you do. I always enjoy coming on with you, and I think we probably could have kept going. So
you look, seriously, we could end up doing an hour or 45 minutes or a full 2-hour show and not think twice about it, but I need you to save your pipes because you got shows and you got games to play.
Thanks, John.
No worries. Be good. Glenn Davis, friend of the network, and it's always great to have Glenn come on and talk stuff. That's the official term. And to have someone where we can pick a brain like Glenn's for someone who is ingrained and entrenched in the soccer scene on a bunch of different levels. It's really cool to have him kick off our MLS coverage and getting ready for the preview. And since there are matches, there's a match, Messi and friends with RSL coming up tomorrow. And very, very cool. So it's always great to have Glenn on. He is what we refer to as a dude. Glenn is an absolute dude. And so it's great to have Glenn on and talk stuff. So very, very cool. I know that we're still waiting for the Eric Ramsey news to come down from Minnesota United and Manchester United. What is it? Sweetwater. That's now the new official craft beer of Atlanta United. I think that's part of this. Hutch. Houston is a wonderful mix of people. It's what I like best about his 5 years there. And Ricky, this is absolutely true. Dynamo have always been a sleeping giant to you. Just need the pieces to fall their way. It's just unfortunately an MLS city where the residents can find better soccer elsewhere, in quotation marks. To me, Houston is one of those markets that is a sleeping giant. And you want to see it succeed. And at the same time, you want to see it succeed because of folks like Glenn, who've invested as much time as they have in the sport and in that market. And I love the fact that he's now on twice a week on ESPN 97.5. And you can go to Glenn Davis SOC, at Glenn Davis SOC on the 280 character app. Support him, support the show, buy the gear. I need to buy the new T-shirt, frankly, and support what's going on down there with Glenn. So fantastic that he is now on 2 days a week down there at ESPN 97.5. So very, very cool once again to have him as a part of the discussion. And Ricky, thanks for the question about Open Cup. To get further into what Jeff Carlisle was talking about yesterday, and this is from the Carlisle article. Preliminary plans for the 24 edition of the Open Cup have been approved by a subcommittee of the U.S. Soccer Federation Board of Directors, though the tournament likely won't look like recent editions. A source close to the Fed told Carlisle. Source indicated complete details are still being ironed out, but the decision to have a tournament in 24 has been made, and what will likely gain final approval is a hybrid type of tournament with not every MLS team participating. Precise level of team participation from MLS and USL clubs still to be determined. Source added plan calls for the Fed to make their largest financial investment ever to ease the cost of travel and assist with promotion, especially for lower division teams. Indicated the format would be for 24 only. There are ongoing discussions with all stakeholders about working collaboratively to find a permanent long-term format for the tournament. Future of the tournament, first edition of which competed in 1914, has been in doubt ever since MLS announced in December that its first teams wouldn't participate in the competition. Interview with ESPN late last week, Don Garber said about Open Cup, everybody in the soccer business needs to rethink how competitions have been organized to ensure that we can continue to evolve and manage what is the single biggest issue for all professional soccer, the management of our schedule, end quote. So USL declined comment on their most recent news, and Carlisle referenced a quote on the 280 character app back in December, and Open Cup committee chair, former USSF board member Arthur Matson told ESPN he'd resigned his position as committee chair over the weekend after being told multiple times by his superiors in the federation to stand down in terms of trying to find a solution. Also stated that the future of the Open Cup was in, quote, grave danger, end quote. For the moment, the danger appears to have been averted. Once again, those are Carlisle's words. But I think that part of this discussion needs to be, honestly, if the idea once again had just been, look, our first team will be involved, but like we talked about with LAFC and Monterey Bay, like Glenn talked about with Houston Dynamo and Tampa Bay Rowdies, these teams had rotation and still couldn't get out of their own way to get out of the tournament. Expand your rosters. Just do that. Expand your rosters. Make it easier when it comes to eligibility, when it comes to who can be in and who can't. Make it easier for, for the second team roster to be active in a first team tournament, those kinds of things. So that to me is the be all and end all here. Just make it easier when it comes to the rosters that are attached. So, just saying. I mean, it seems like it's an easy solution for us, but I don't know. Sometimes it takes the literally. It sometimes takes the young kid to sit there and look at the 18-wheeler that's stuck under a bridge and say, "Let the air out of the tires." to make a solution. So there you go. Like I said, that's just me thinking out loud, and that's where we're at. So, yeah, timeshare. I mean, honestly, Hutch, if that's more like the idea. Rich, no team takes the Open Cup seriously till the quarterfinals, right? And then, as Glenn said, hey, you win a couple of times. Hey, let's try to win this thing. Sporting did that a couple of years ago. Remember, Sporting had such an awful start in the season. They were at the bottom of the table. They were hurting. And so they get into Open Cup. They win a couple of games. And Peter Vermes is like, yeah, we're going all in on Open Cup because I don't know if we're going to make the playoffs. So that's you see from the MLS sides in this. But, as Ricky says, as a former OC champ, he wants the best for it. Understood. But that's, like I said, Hutch, to your point, just make sure that you can sit there and have second-team players available for you. Expand your rosters. Give your Major League Soccer sides more options about how they can present themselves in the tournament. If they want to invest, if they want to have first-team players in it, go for it. If you want to have second-team players as a part of the roster in any particular round, go for it. Just make sure that should be the option here. Figure out how you can make things to where you can have the roster the way that you want it if you're a first division side. Rich says he saw an idea floated around. All the MLS teams get in Open Cup. If an MLS team doesn't want to participate, they can just forfeit. Well, to a degree, I see where that's coming from, Rich, but you don't want the financial aspect of it because traditionally you would have that first division side, the Major League Soccer side on the road. And then if they forfeit, do you attach a penalty to it? Do you sit there and it's like, okay, if you forfeit, here's a $25,000 fine. You've got to pay it to either Open Cup and the Soccer Federation or to the host team that didn't get the home date for losing out on all that revenue. See, a forfeit doesn't do the lower division side any good. Does the Federation sit there and it's like, okay, if they forfeited, we'll give you, $25,000 or whatever. If you had a first division forfeit, then that payday is lost to the lower division side. So I would look at that financially. I get the idea, but I would rather have an MLS team in name show up in the lower division building. And if it's second division, academy, whatever the roster tweak needs to be so you can present whatever side you want in that match against that lower division side at the lower division's venue. So the lower division side doesn't miss out on the payday. That, to me, it would be the issue with just a straight-up forfeit. The lower division side misses out on a payday. The Riverhounds at Highmark would miss out on a payday. Pick your USL Championship or League One side that would make their way through. No indication about how it's going to be broadcast. None whatsoever. And I think this is the other problem that we've had with Open Cup is I don't think it's been broadcast enough. How you don't have a title sponsor for this is beyond me. I know that there was the commitment about broadcasting all the matches, and you got that on the Plus, and you got to see how that is. And how do you not have a title sponsor for this? You need a title sponsor to help with the investment, to help with all of the clubs, especially the lower division clubs, and what we were seeing in the Carlisle article about how the Federation is going to be making the investment. The Federation should only be making part of the investment. You should be having someone who is a title sponsor to this. So, like I said, that's me. How do you not have a title sponsor for the Open Cup? How do you not have a title sponsor for the Open Cup? That is mind-boggling to me at times that you don't have a title sponsor. Yep, Hutch, same way you have no pro refs to open the season with. Planning. Like I said, Major League Soccer. There should have been, before all of this rigmarole at the end of the calendar year, should have been a discussion about roster allotments, changes, whatever word you want to use, adjustments. Then the Major League Soccer sides nothing would have changed if you had made the adjustments to the rosters. It said, okay, Major League Soccer sides, because of everything else that's going on with their schedule, with Leagues Cup, with everything else going on, with some in CONCACAF and the Hemispheric Extravaganza, you got all these things going on. Major League Soccer can make roster adjustments that can include A, B, C, D, and E. So that way you'd have all of the MLS sides engaged in whatever design. I mean, look, when we watch the Gummy Bear Cup, not the FA, but the Gummy Bear, you see sides that might have half turnover. But that's because it was the rules of engagement in the Gummy Bear Cup over in England. They get it. This is what's going to happen. Can't get out of your own way sometimes. Rich, how many times have we heard the stories? It costs too much money for lower team to host. Lower fans don't want to see MLS reserves. I mean, like I said, when I keep going back to the LAFC Monterey Bay game, it was 8. I think it was 8 LAFC 2 players that started. Monterey Bay, Cardinal is packed because it was Monterey Bay's first chance to host, I think, in an Open Cup match. But yeah, it's just. All right, so Maddie, who was very, very busy yesterday, has apparently recovered her voice. And she's going to crash the party here and discuss things about Open Cup. So, Maddie, what is on your mind now that your fingers have recovered, hopefully, from all the posting that you did yesterday?
Yeah, it was a lot. It was a lot of stuff, a lot of editing, but it was fun. I actually like doing all that stuff. Like, something about it, like if I have like a good like music thing going on, if I get in a groove, like okay. I like it, it's nice. Mm-hmm. But then there's some times where it's tedious and I want to cry. No, I just like after doing all the stuff yesterday, I kind of took a break from like looking at social media really. Like I read a book and I was like, I'm just going to unplug for a little bit. Okay. So I didn't wake up this morning. This morning was the first time I actually saw all the stuff about the Open Cup and everything like that and all the new stuff coming out about it. I just personally, like as someone who like when I kind of grew back into soccer and like, you know, being an Atlanta United fan, I went to the final Open Cup game that Atlanta United won. I was there. I loved the tournament. The tournament was so fun. Getting to like go watch the first team play at Fifth Third Stadium. I mean, that's so fun. Those are memories that I'm going to have for years. And I think it's such a historic cup. And I think MLS trying to like do this like weird thing, I just don't understand it. I really don't, because I'm like, this should be up to the teams if they want to be able to play in this cup. Like, just let them figure that out. If a team's like, you know what, we're really going to focus on the season this year. Like, we're not going to do that. Then that's fine. I think, I don't know. I don't know. There's a lot of cool history, I think, with the Open Cup. And it's just like, I think trying to just completely exile one league out of it completely, like, come on. Like, you know, you get to see teams like MLS play USL teams like Charleston Battery, Birmingham Legion. Like, I mean, come on, that stuff's fun. Like, yeah. This is fun.
And when you have a team like Union Omaha, who a couple of seasons ago in Open Cup took a couple of scalps, I mean, you're talking 2 divisions below. You're talking a 3rd division club in Union Omaha, including a win at Minnesota United in front of like 12 people, and most of them were Union Omaha fans. But that kind of romanticism is what makes the Open Cup the Open Cup. It's the idea of the upset. Like when we talk about the March and April college basketball tournament, where we have the 12 and the 13 seeds with the upsets, the 14s and the 15s, and occasionally a 16 knocking off a 1. That's the kind of romanticism that Rich is talking about here that we are all attached to in these tournaments. Rich says he's maybe a spoiled fan of an MLS team, but the love affair of the U.S. Open Cup is blinded by the financials, and that's part of it.
Yeah, absolutely. And because, like, I mean, we even talked about it when we were in Athens doing the Atlanta United preseason match. You know, it literally was a matchup from the freaking Open Cup. Like, it's that animosity. It's like, you know, it's a rivalry that you don't expect to have, and you have it, and it creates a really good game of soccer. And I think it's just, it has such a rich history, and it's so interesting, and it's kind of like a breath of fresh air. Like, you know, MLS season, it can be so, like, depending on who you go for and like just how it goes, like it's just a lot. And sometimes, like, you know, you have a team, you're rooting for them, and they're not doing the best, and you're like, oh, whatever. But then, you know, you get to watch the Open Cup, and the Open Cup's fun because you get to see players who maybe don't normally play really step up, and they kind of come into the fold, and you get to really see them develop in the Open Cup and then possibly lead its way. I love the Open Cup, and I really hope that this does get settled, because I would love for MLS teams to be able to play in it, because I think they should be able to. I think completely telling them no, I don't think that's fair.
Yeah, and so there will be some kind of a solution. We don't know what it's going to be. Once again, you've got folks who are tied to the lower divisions who are, and once again, check your sourcing, and we don't know who the conversations are with, hearing that a lot of USL Championship clubs actively discussing removing themselves from Open Cup on principle. And there are others that are saying that, back in December, a number of championship clubs declined the opportunity to be in a different cup competition with League One clubs managed by USL. And so there's the thought that it might be those same individuals that might be tied to not wanting to leave Open Cup and go into a separate cup going up against League One folks. Speaking of Nashville real quick and what we saw at Blast Off Battle, we did see Julian Gaines at work for Huntsville City Football Club. He has been signed by Nashville SC. So Julian Gaines, he gets some work on SDH, getting some minutes for Jack Collison at Huntsville City, and he gets signed through 24 options with 25 and 26, following a trialing spell with the club during preseason camp in Florida, plus some action on the weekend in Huntsville, Alabama. So Julian Gaines signing with Nashville SC as we go. Emilio says he likes the concept of Open Cup, but wouldn't jeopardize the regular season by overworking the MLS team. Of course, their rosters need to be expanded to help with this. Yes, and that is the rub here.
That's the issue. You can't, like, that's the discrepancy. Is like you have like that roster compliance and how that's going to work. Mm-hmm. If this is going to happen, you need to open that up, especially for a game like this. You know, like allow those players from the second team to come up and play in that matchup. Allow for that to happen. If you don't allow for that to happen, of course these teams are going to get overworked. That's just principle.
Yep. So we've got that to stare at as well. So big news from Open Cup. We'll keep an eye on that. Other news from Major League Soccer. We talked about Messi and friends, and we're still awaiting Federico Redondo. They did make some tweaking moves yesterday. Ascona to Las Vegas in USL Championship. Don't know where that is financially, but once again, Gregory to Botafogo has opened up some space. We don't know how much space. So we still, leading into tomorrow night, do not know, and this is why I wanted to get into this with Glenn Davis, who has been around the league for over a quarter century, about the rules of engagement. We still don't know where Messi and friends are when it comes to cap compliance. We still don't know if they have some work to do. We don't know how much work they have to do. Do not be surprised if later today you see the one-time exception, the one-time roster exception where you just outright can release a player that's been tied to Corentin Jean, to Coco Jean. So if they need to do that, they'll do that. There's still a couple of players that are marketable. There are still some countries that have the opportunity to transfer players. You could be looking at Jean Mota. You could be Mota was tied to Brazil. So we still don't know where the compliance is with Messi and friends, and that is going to be one of the stories that we look at heading into the match against RSL tomorrow. Tomorrow is the beginning of the season, and we still don't know, A, what the cap number is, B, and we won't know this because it's information that's held, we don't know where teams are, but according to Doug Robertson of the AJC, Atlanta United is right up against the cap ceiling. No surprise, because you have Carlos Bocanegra in the front office, And, then you have them trying to figure out, okay, who can we get with how much space and all this kind of stuff. That is not me. I'm not trying to call Maddie and have a discussion with her at the same time. But
Sorry, it was a spam
no
call.
worries. No worries. So it was definitely not me, since it was a spam call. But once again, we heard from Doug Robertson of the AJC yesterday that Atlanta United's right up against the number. No real surprise with everything that they've done. And, once again, Atlanta United is willing to be one of those clubs that is going to go right up against the edge of the cap, spend what they can, figure out all of these, all of the machinations, and still be cap compliant. We still don't know how screwed, using the word from the Tom Bogert article, Messi and friends are. We don't know if anybody else is screwed. And I would probably keep an eye on the transactions page between now and the beginning of the matches on both Wednesday and on Saturday. So maybe today, later today, Friday, later Friday, in between for teams that aren't playing until Saturday, where folks are. But we're still at a handicap when it comes to compliance, cap compliance, who is where, how much more movement do they need to do, or is anybody going to be using a one-time exception? All of this.
Well, it's interesting too, because, I mean, we're only getting reports about Inter Miami. We haven't gotten anything really from any other team in the league.
Yeah.
So it it makes me wonder. I'm like, are other teams? Is this an issue that other teams are having, or is it literally just Miami?
Well, that's part of the discussion, is because we are so drawn to the drawing card of Messi and friends. And Glenn made this point in hour number one that we've made as well, that what happens in a year and a half, 2 years, when all of Messi and friends leave? What is Inter Miami going to do for an encore? Who do they bring in that next wave? Is it Griezmann? What international star do they bring in to restart the process and continue this churn and burn of a megawatt superstar, 100,000-mile touring around the planet and expanding your brand? So, I mean, is this just a blip on your radar in your soccer EKG file, or are you going to try to continue to keep that momentum? That, to me, is the larger question. When we're through with this in a year and a half or 2 years' time, what are you going to do? Hutch, obviously, the master of the verbiage, says reliance on compliance will lead to more creative finance. That is absolutely true. And that is why, when you have for lack of a better phrase, the NIL deal that Messi was signed to, tied to sponsors, tied to Apple TV, making $20 million, then that includes anything and everything in a salary figure, but with all of the sponsor elements and pieces of the action, his NIL deal is upwards of 50. Those are the kinds of things that the Major League Soccer thought they had to do to bring in Lionel Messi. And you wonder, with everybody else that's a big name, how much other NIL deals were brought into play where folks like Alba, Busquets, Suarez, that kind of a thing, to make all of this happen. But the greater picture is we still don't know where they are when it comes to the cap. We still don't know. And that to me is it's going to drive me crazy until we finally get to see what the cap numbers are, who's making what, and where you are against the number. So, like I said, call me crazy. It just drives me nuts that we can't have this kind of information and figure out what's going on.
I agree.
Emilio, about the cup. The idea on the 280 character app, MLS teams are afraid of competing against lower teams, is comical. Sure, MLS teams will lose some, but that's just childish. Yeah, they're not afraid of it.
No, they're not. I mean,
they got other stuff to do, man.
Yeah, they have other things to worry about. I mean, losing to lower division, I use quotations. You can't see me using quotations, but I use lower divisions. I mean, just because a team plays at the USL League One Championship, that doesn't mean that they're a lower team. That talent is still there. Yeah. I think that's an issue that people often do as well. And this also goes to even college and D1, D2, D3. Just because they're at a lower level doesn't mean the talent is lower. That's not true. That is not true at all. You have so much talent all over the place. And I feel like MLS teams know that. There are some MLS teams that, might not have that talent. And then a USL champions team has so much talent. It's not a matter of they play at a lower league. No, that's not the thing. I don't think that MLS teams are worried about losing to it. I think that's a really weird thing. I think people saying that is It's almost like trying to find an excuse.
Yeah, it's like, no, they're not afraid of losing to a lower division club. It's like, man, we got stuff to do. It's like, we got Leagues Cup. We're trying to win we're trying to win our league championship. We're trying to get in that way and win a league title to get into the CONCACAF Hemispheric Extravaganza. While yes, Open Cup is a way to do that too. And you've got the lower division teams like Sacramento Republic. We talked about them making that run, making it to the final before they lost to the purple team.
Yeah.
In the last game of the tournament a couple seasons ago. So, no, the idea that they're afraid of it, no, I completely disagree.
Yeah.
Emilio's like, let Miami go full Cosmos circa 1978. Talent overall in Major League Soccer has gotten younger and better since then. Yeah, it is a separate universe.
Oh, yeah.
The 280 character out.
Also, Emilio, we know that it was not your opinion.
Yeah, no,
we got you.
Yeah, no, it's all.
I've been seeing it too. So I mean I would go through some of the things on X, and it's just like they're like, well, maybe they're just afraid. I'm like, no. That's like the equivalent of them like, okay, listen, don't listen. I get it. That's like the equivalent of someone being like afraid they're gonna lose to like Chicago Fire. Like, you know what I mean? Like that's kind of the same thing. Like, I mean, like no team wants to lose, obviously. You don't want to lose to anyone.
Yeah.
But one team wins, one team loses. You can tie. But like, I mean,
Yeah. A couple of other pieces of news that you were finding as a part of your searches this morning as you are searching the planet for all of the stuff that is important. We did mention the possible, probable 31-year-old head coach Eric Ramsey being named the new head man in Minnesota. Still nothing officially official, and so we'll see about a 31-year-old with no head coaching experience being named a new head coach in Major League Soccer. So apparently,
better late than ever.
It's 4 days before the season starts. Yeah, that's good for integration. We mentioned the stuff with Mbappe and Guillaume Balaguer. Mentioned briefly about Messi going on Weibo, I believe is what it was, to discuss why he could not make his appearance in Hong Kong against Hong Kong team, and that is going to be one of the best team names ever when they were on their 100,000-mile globetrotting sojourn. But he literally went through the whole thing about being injured. It's like, I was injured, I trained, it didn't get better, tried to play a couple minutes, didn't work. And so now apparently the Chinese government and the government of Hong Kong are basically like, no, Argentina can't come here and play because we're mad. Because Messi tactically, because politically motivated, he decided that he was not going to play here, but he'll play in Japan, but he won't play here. Obviously something's wrong. And he made a political statement. No, he was injured. But, of course, you have politics posturing. Who knew that ever happens? And so apparently now, as a possible benefit of Argentina not playing the friendlies in that part of the planet in the Far East, they could be here in the United States. So keep an eye on the Argentine friendlies that could be over here now because both the Chinese government and the Hong Kong government stamped their feet in the mud and tried to stomp into the puddles of rain and go, you didn't come here, we're mad, so you can't come here anymore. And so the U.S. is like, sure, that's fine with us. You can come and play another round of friendlies here. Basically, yes, Hutch, absolutely. Don't play for us, Argentina. And so nothing like Hutch quoting Evita Peron this morning. Very, very cool.
I just think it's just, listen, I am the first one to not, to go crazy on Inter Miami and all that stuff. I'm the first one to, get on that little train. But I mean, Messi was injured. Like, soccer is unpredictable. I think, listen, they based this entire thing on the fact that Messi was going to be there. Yeah, Messi was there, but soccer, like, players get injured all the time. And it's preseason. I'm sure that Miami is like, you know what? Like, I'd rather him, take a step back and not play these preseason games before we go and play the first game of the MLS season. Like, I mean, it makes sense. I don't understand why. You're right. It's politics. It's just, it's crazy.
It's politics posturing. Who knew that happens? Apparently also involving, let's see, Doug Robertson at training this morning. Everyone except Mosqueda, Etienne, and Jamal are training with Atlanta United this morning. Training session kicked in about a half hour ago. Mosqueda still has another couple of weeks with his injury. Etienne does as well. No word on Jamal. So you mentioned also in Liverpool with the injury news, Diogo Jota out for months, taken off injured before halftime in the big win against Brentford. Also, Jones is not going to be part of the cup final that is going to be happening this weekend. We mentioned Messi and friends, Michelle Kaufman down in Miami. Apparently, DRV P&K will be no more. The home venue for Messi and friends is going to get a new sponsor. The club and JP Morgan Chase announced a multi-year rights deal. So it is now going to be Chase Stadium. So we've got that. So it is now JP Morgan. It's going to be JP Morgan Chase. Gets a new name on the eve of the 24 season, part of the partnership with JP Morgan Chase Bank. And so DRVP&K is now going to be JP Morgan Chase in a multi-year rights deal with Inter Miami. So we can't make fun of it. We can't make fun of a stadium that doesn't have any vowels. Now it's just going to be named after a bank. So we've got name changes in stadia. And so if JP Morgan Chase would like to perhaps, sponsor us, that'd be great. Right. So it was named in Ricky is giving us the link that we mentioned this morning. Ancelotti offering Luka Modric a chance to join the coaching staff of Real Madrid at the end of this season if he decides to retire. But once again, we've seen the talk, gossip, rumor, and innuendo. Check your sources. That Modric will be the new Messi and friend. He'll be a part of the new and friends come the summer. So we'll see what Luka Modric wants to do. And with all the injuries and trying to figure out how to fit it, we'll see. But, yeah, so right now, if Modric decides to hang it up, Ancelotti's offered him a spot on the staff. Emilio, not thinking Miami full capacity on a Wednesday night's a winning move. No way you'll see 60K. China invented cancel culture. Yes, Michael. Now Messi will be even more popular in China. And so Hutch says, fitting somehow that a bank would be involved. Yeah. Got to finance. I wonder where the financing is. Is JP Morgan Chase a part of the financing for DRVP&K?
Are they going to help with figuring out the cap issue? They going to?
Well, then you might have some capologists from JP Morgan Chase, but at least Chase has vowels. So Chase Stadium has vowels where DRVP&K does not. Our friends at Auto Nation apparently have just decided, you know what, Chase is going to pay more, so we'll bow out. So that is where we are with Messi and friends. Yeah, big league financing, you're going to need it, especially with the new building. Yes, get ready to see Messi in your next Chase commercial. Absolutely true. Guarantee that is going to happen.
Oh, 100%.
Let's see. News out of Major League Soccer. A couple of notes of suspensions and such. So yesterday, don't know if you guys saw this. Maddie reminded me of it this morning. And this is from Major League Soccer, and I'm going to read it verbatim just so it's all out there. Quote, following Kai Wagner's completion of MLS's restorative practices program and in keeping with the MLS-MLSPA joint anti-discrimination policy, Major League Soccer announced today that Wagner's previously announced 3-game suspension will no longer carry forward into the first match of the 24 season. Wagner is therefore eligible to play when the 24 season begins. And so we all remember the situation with Bobby Wood, but now Major League Soccer has set this as the bar. So if you have a multi-game suspension and it starts at the end of a season previous and you go through the restorative practices program and you are in compliance with whatever you have to go through involving the MLS-MLSPA anti-discrimination policy, it is time served at the end of that season. And so everything is clean going into 24. So remember, so now Major League Soccer has said in situations like this, end of the season, suspension, you do what you have to do with restorative practices and the anti-discrimination policy. Time served, you start clean at the beginning of the following season. So that's where we are with Kai Wagner. And Laurel Failer announced yesterday also separately that does not have to do with what we're seeing with restorative practices and the anti-discrimination policy that Matt Miazga apparently has had his suspension wrapped up as well. So Matt Miazga will be ready to go for FC Cincinnati and at the beginning of the season as well. So just once again, remember, these situations are different. They are different, but both are now attached and everything is now free and clean when it comes to those particular individuals and their former suspensions. And so there you are. So that's the latest with those two. Once again, if you want to keep up with everything going on with FC Cincinnati, Laurel Phaler and Queen City Press, she has a Patreon, and I have subscribed. So I'm right there with all of you that want to keep an eye on things. So Laurel Phaler and her Patreon, Queen City Press. Matt Miazga has apparently it's been time served and everything that he's needed to do. Same now also with Kai Wagner in two separate situations, but both now wrapped up, starting the season clean in 24 and going forward. So that's where we are with those two. So I'm trying to see if there's anything else. You mentioned Diogo Jota and Jones not happening in the Cup. And so let's see what's on everybody's mind. We got broadcast teams for week 1. Okay, cool.
Oh, that's exciting.
All right. So Alex involving Messi and friends. Wow, now the team is really too big to fail. That'd be if they were sponsored by Enron, I think, or Shearson Lehman. What's in your commercial? Yeah, that is what the Capitals what is it? Who's merging? It's Discover and was it Capital One for $35 billion?
Oh, right. I did see that. Yeah.
Yeah. What's in your merger? So there you go. So we do have now. All right. So with everybody flying in this, Discover and Cap One. Thank you. I knew I was close. It was like Capital or Credit or something. All right. So we got our broadcast teams for week number 1 and the opening of the Open. Yeah, Rich, it is out on time served, basically. All right. So I think that we should give it the proper sending, the proper announcing and the proper sending, because, it is the broadcast teams for week number 1. So, we've got to do it right. And so we will definitely do it the right way when it comes to announcing the broadcast teams of week number 1. All right. Shocking no one, for Messi and Friends and RSL Wednesday night, it's Jake and Taylor. That much we know. That's no real surprise at all that it's Jake and Taylor. Also, it is going to be Steve Cangelosi and Danny Higginbotham, who called a lot of matches for Atlanta United last season on Apple. They get the 2:00 game. So it is going to be the Kanji man and Danny Higginbotham calling Atlanta United and Columbus Crew. 4:30, the West Coast game. It's going to be a quick turn for Jake and TT. They're going to go from one end of the world to the other. Saturday at 4:30, they're going to call LAFC and Seattle. By the way, love the anniversary kit. We'll catch up with Nico on Thursday and find out a little bit more. Orlando and Montreal, Nate Bacady, Devin Kerr. These are all 7:30s. Philadelphia, Chicago Fire, Chris Whittingham, Lori Lindsay. Neil Sika's debut is with Lloyd Sam. Lloyd Sam gets a home game with Charlotte and NYCFC. Callum and Kalen are calling DC United and the Revs. 8:30, it is Eric Krakauer and Jaleel Anibaba. They broke up Eric and Lloyd Sam. So Eric Krakauer, Jaleel Anibaba, FC Dallas and San Jose. Max and Dunny are doing Austin and the Loons. Maybe the Loons will have a head coach by Saturday. Don't know. It'll be Keith and Mo doing All Caps and RSL on the quick turn. And congrats to Keith Costigan, by the way, named head coach of Ventura County Fusion in USL League 2. So Keith's going to be kind of busy. Also at 8:30, It is Tyler Terrans and Kinder D. St. Albans. They are calling Houston and Sporting. The West Coast game on Saturday at 10:30. Rogo and Heath Pierce, Mark Rogandino are calling Portland and Colorado. Sunday at 2:30, Cincinnati and Toronto. It is the Kanji Man and Danny Higginbotham. 5 o'clock on Sunday, Tony Husband, Ross Smith get a home game calling Nashville and Red Bulls. 9 o'clock Eastern time. Busy weekend for Jake and TT. They got 4 matches, but at least 2 of them are in the same city. It'll be LAG and Messi and Friends on the 25th with Jake and TT calling LAG and Messi and Friends. So that's your opening weekend announcer announcements. So that's what they are. They're announcer announcements. So that's your announcer announcements for week 1 in Major League Soccer. So cool to have that kind of a discussion. Remember our friend Kevin Egan. Kevin is now a part of MLS 360. He'll be in studio in New York. So very, very cool to have our friend Kevin Egan be a part of all of that. So we will see what's going on. Also, let's see what you guys are talking about specifically with suspensions and time served. David, did Thiago not have to serve last year over season break, or am I crazy? I'm trying to remember. I don't think he had to serve. I think you're right, David. I think you're there. Alex doesn't have all the details. I don't like people slamming MLS for this. It's in tandem with the MLSPA, which of course advocates for the individual player, right? So, spread the responsibility. Rich, I can see MLS going, everyone starts on an even clean slate. And I guess that's what we're staring at here. Emilio, I guess Sosa didn't get the same opportunity. Sosa is carrying over a suspension. Thought someone had a suspension carried over. It would be Santi Sosa, but Sosa is not active in Major League Soccer this year. He's down at Racing. So if he was a part of a Major League Soccer roster, I would anticipate that the same courtesy would be given to Santi Sosa. But since he is not in the league, he was not a part of the announcement. Since Kai Wagner is active in Major League Soccer in Philadelphia, he got announced. Since Matt Miazga is active in Major League Soccer, he got announced. Had Santi Sosa still been a part of things with Atlanta United, I'm sure he would have been announced as well. So we will see there. So, Alex, just like when MLS doesn't release details around an investigation, there's a union agreement that prevents it. Yes. Thank you. Enron was not too big to fail, and like it did fail. JP Morgan, largest bank in the world, so ain't nobody touching them. Sosa was end of 22 going into 23. Okay. All right. So that's where we are. Traditionally, I'm getting all my banks confused, but that's, no real surprise. So, but yeah, I think that any kind of a suspension right now, obviously, once again, time served. I get it. Now you've set your precedents. With this kind of stuff. All right. So if a player still has games on the board and you satisfy what's going on with the league and the Players Association, you do all the things that you're supposed to do in the offseason to rectify the idea, rectify your situation at the time. You come in, clean slate, you move forward. So that's where we are. But now you've got the precedent set. So let's see if it continues year to year. Remember this time of year next year when it comes to how things are laid out. So we'll keep an eye on. Let's see. Oh, so David, okay. All right. So thank you. David says last year Sosa had slower suspension carry over. This year Wagner does not. Correct. But like I said, once again, so that's where we are. Like I said, Major League Soccer has set the precedent. But like I said, with an individual who is not in the league, it would make sense that they're not going to address it because he's not here. So, like I said, I would imagine that if Santi Sosa was a part of the discussion and he was still a part of Atlanta United, then I would imagine you would be extended the same courtesy. But since he's not a part of the league, we're not going to know that.
But does that mean that if he were to come back, would that carry over, or would that in turn then slate wipe clean?
In theory, it should be slate wipe clean because of what you've set now with where you are. So in theory, slate wipe clean if he was to be participating in Major League Soccer this year. So we're not going to know until Santi Sosa, if he does come back to Major League Soccer, and then we'll find out. And maybe it's just something that they just kind of put by the wayside. So there we go. And so, yes, Ricky, Sweetwater is now the official craft beer of Atlanta United. Yes. So just in time for the block party, you get the news of Sweetwater, official craft beer sponsor. So at Sweetwater Tap Room for the block party, yes, it does make sense that Sweetwater would have the block party and be the official craft beer. And David, well, and I mean, I don't know, David, if they would encourage it, but that's kind of a backhanded way of encouraging it. But the MLSPA encouraging playoff meltdowns from losing teams with no consequence. Not necessarily, but like I said, in this case, like I said, you have a precedent set. Matt Miazga discussion. So you now have a precedent set. And so now, once again, case by case with this precedent, we'll see if it will apply. But as Rich said, I get it. New season, slate wiped clean. We'll go forward. So that's where we are. Let me take the tour, Maddie, of the hard news, and we will come back and let everybody in on what to watch, where to watch it, and what folks need to do. So we will catch up with you coming up 5 or 10 minutes.
Absolutely.
All right. So there's Maddie Cruz on the 1s and 2s. She's in charge. About if you throw the pizza at the official, I don't know. Is it sponsored? We'll see. All right. So news, and I was talking about Everton, and it's still kind of out there, and a couple of different folks, and I know that both Ropes and Tom Russo are probably just kind of ducking their heads on this thing. Before the show started this morning, Belgian public network RTBF reports more trouble at 777-owned Standard for the third month running. Wages were paid late, and the club's this Standard Liège. Standard Liège is a part of the 777 portfolio. So Standard Liège, third month running, wages paid late, and the club's former GM won a court action, which led to Standard's bank account being frozen for several days. And once again, this is from our friends at RTBF, and it is Google translated, so bear with me here. Third month in a row, salaries paid late. Increasingly worrying the financial situation. Last weekend, a new stone slipped into the shoes of the club's leaders. Once again, this is Google translated. Accounts were blocked for several days at the request of a bailiff representing the interests of Alexander Grosjean. Dismissed on February 25th of 22 before the sale of 777 by Bruno Venanzi. The former general director of Standard had taken legal action because, according to him, the reason given by Venanzi, poor sporting and financial management, was a facade. Indeed, in the event of a resale of the club, Grosjean's notice period automatically increased from 6 to 18 months, a situation which disturbed new investors who would have asked for the situation to be resolved before their arrival. Last December, more than a year after the events, the Liège courts delivered their verdict. Grosjean won the trial between him and Liège. They were ordered to make back wage payments. The appeal that the club could not bring was not suspensive. The sum should have left the club's accounts. It did not. Initially, Standard Liège negotiated a staggered payment, a proposal accepted by the former GM before the club decided not to do it. And then if 777 accepted the agreement without appealing the judgment, they could no longer turn to their former owner and ask him to assume the consequences of the decision that happened under his presidency. So what you had was former president fire a guy, and the guy wanted all of his wages paid. Ownership change. 777 wanted the old owner to take care of that payment, and the old owner was like, no. And so the former GM takes him to court and wins a court decision. Hey, I've got to get paid. And so 777 and the former owner are still going to be linked for 2 years until the last installments of that contract that the former GM had that gets honored. Grosjean's representatives mandated a bailiff last week to recover what was owed to the client, sending a summons, blocked Standard Liège's accounts. And we've covered in the past what's up with 777, the state of Utah, and the Bahamas, about how the state of Utah and the Bahamas are going back and forth looking at 777 subsidiaries, wondering why 777 subsidiaries are having loans that have like 53% interest rates, because no one is going to loan to them. So it is still a horrendous mess on multiple fronts when it comes to 777's proposed takeover of Everton. Tom Morgan yesterday at the Telegraph says they still have 11th hour queries from the Premier League. The club had been expecting a directors and owners test decision by the end of the month, but the league contacted 777 last Thursday to request new information. Sources with the understanding of the process now concede outstanding demands are still being dealt with. Insiders acknowledge it is unclear whether the club is now on track to secure an imminent decision. 777 has moved to reassure its own staff over its finances after the recent departure of their chief financial officer. An internal memo got circulated to announce a new CFO. Quote, "We are confident this change will fortify our future growth and are excited to welcome Brett into the 777 family. Brett Kaufman, appreciate your continued support and enthusiasm during this transition." Directors and owners test verdict may now still be pending as Everton still finds out about the 10-point appeal and whether that's been successful. Remember, Nottingham Forest has also been charged with financial breaches for the latest cycle. The deal for Everton and 777 was supposed to be completed by Christmas. Clearance from the Financial Conduct Authority provided in December. Chief Executive Richard Masters of the Premier League suggested last month questions still needed to be answered while speaking at a Culture, Media, and Sport Committee hearing. What we were discussing a second ago about Utah, the governments of Utah and Bermuda talking to one another, that's the problem. 777RE, a subsidiary, a reinsurer based in Bermuda. The reinsurer has been placed under administrative control as a part of a reorganization of the industry by Bermudan authorities rather than being placed into administration, and that there are no issues for funding of the Everton deal as a result. Directors and owners test has been tightened in recent years, but resolving the Everton situation is now the priority, considering that the Sir Jim Ratcliffe investment was cleared within 8 weeks. So that's where you are right now with Everton, 777, and all of that chaos. Remember, we talked about yesterday Michael Beale being sacked by Sunderland after 12 matches. Apparently, he got busted with a burner account on the 280-character app as well. So you've got that to look forward to with Michael Beale, and trying to see quickly if there's any other news that is out there that we didn't address yesterday when it came to the afternoon. One quick thing. Tom Lockyer, I don't know if you had the chance to hear about this. Tom Lockyer admitted, the player for Luton Town who collapsed on the field earlier this season, he admitted that his heart stopped for 2 minutes and 40 seconds. 2 minutes and 40 seconds, his heart stopped. And he accepts that his playing return is out of his hands. The abandoned match against Bournemouth that still needs to be made up this season. Also collapsed during the championship playoff final against Coventry back in May, fitted with an implantable defibrillator after spending 5 days in the hospital. So I'm just glad that Tom Lockyer is with us first and foremost. But finding out that 2 minutes and 40 seconds went by. 2 minutes and 40 seconds. Absolute craziness. Let's see if there's anything going on with recent updates. Jota is out for months, according to Jurgen Klopp. Brighton's head of recruitment, second individual in the front office to join Chelsea in the last 16 months. Partey and Vieira have returned to Arsenal ahead of the match with Porto. With Diogo, it will take months. That's a quote. Tottenham expected to face Bayern in South Korea this summer in a friendly. Plan is also for Spurs to play a K-League batch of All-Stars on July 28th as part of a 3-match trip to Saudi Arabia. And this I thought was kind of funny. Eden Hazard in the Times. You know, we always would make jokes about Eden Hazard. Retired at 32. Struggled under Antonio Conte's training. Angus Oliver at the Times. Eden Hazard. I'd gained 5 kilos before Real Madrid and Chelsea seasons. So that's like 12 pounds. Couldn't resist Belgian beer after matches. Speaking on the Obi-Wan podcast with his former teammate John Obi Mikel, he confirmed the reports. He arrived at Real Madrid overweight when he first moved there. It was true, but me every summer. I was putting on 4 or 5 kilos because I was thinking you give so much for 10 months, you put your body at the highest level. People kick you, so your time off is your time off. Don't ask me to do anything. I enjoy being with my family, going to the beach, so don't ask me to run in those 3 or 4 weeks. I can play football on the beach with my kids, no problem. Just don't ask me to run. As a Belgian guy, we love beers because my country has the best beers in the world. So I'm not telling you I used to drink every day because it's not true, but sometimes after a good game, 1 or 2 is nice. So Eden Hazard admitted to putting on 12 pounds. Putting on 12 pounds after drinking, after seasons are over, and having fun with Belgian beer. So that's pretty good. Yes, it is his patriotic duty, Hutch. Absolutely it is. Apparently, the DOJ could block the ESPN Fox TNT merged sports app, so keep an eye on that going forward. And get this. You know, it's a race to figure out where, if Xabi Alonso goes to Bayern, that's, part of the deal. If they fire Thomas Tuchel, reports linking Xabi to replace Tuchel would wait till the end of the year. Now, if Bayern Munich wants to part ways with Tuchel, rumors, and we all know about rumors, from Sky, Zidane and Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, 2 potential managers who could step in for Tuchel on an interim basis. I don't buy Zidane. Ole I could buy. Not Zidane. Zidane, I think, wants to be a manager of a national team, and that's about it. Sacking Tuchel obviously would be very, very costly. But yes, targeting Zidane permanently and Solskjaer temporarily. According to our friends, Gossip, Rumor, and Innuendo. And so Dell reminds us that Marseille is holding the press conference with new coach Jean-Louis Gasset. Remember, Gasset didn't make it out of the group stage at AFCON. Gasset didn't make it out of the group stage at AFCON, and so guess what? You're the new head coach at Marseille. We had 5 sackings or rearrangements yesterday. 5 when it came to coaches. 5. 1 more than 4, 1 less than 6. 5 coaching changes yesterday, whether it was permanent or temporary. Tony Mowbray because of injury. Because of a health issue. Oliver Glasner, the ones in Italy. It is all over. It is all over the place. Absolutely all over the place. But not a real surprise. When folks sit there and they're when they want those coaching changes made, they're going to make them. They're going to try to make them anyway. So, those are your coaching changes. Ropes right now is wondering if Uncle Arthur would want to invest in Everton. Don't know. I don't know if I don't know. I don't. I think Uncle Arthur is trying to continue to build and be a part of the American soccer scene, especially with what's coming up in 25, 6, and 7. So I think he's probably investing all of his time and resources in domestic activities. So we'll see what's going on there. Once again, remember there are a couple of windows that are still open. So when we talk about gossip, rumor, innuendo, transfers, and all that stuff, here's where we are. Oh, and this one I forgot to mention. There is an individual who is interested in taking over Jurgen Klinsmann's gig as the manager of the South Korean national team. And he's apparently also on the short list of some clubs in the Saudi League, the league that we neither condone, endorse, nor promote. Yes, absolutely true. Uncle Arthur is the calmer Ted Turner the city needs, and Abby's like, yes, let him work on getting a women's team in a stadium. Steve Bruce is being mentioned by Steve Bruce, mind you. But still, Steve Bruce is interested. If you ask Steve Bruce is interested. The only thing missing is a third-person reference here. Steve Bruce is interested in becoming a South Korean manager. Good luck. Manchester United are interested in Bayern Munich forward Matisse Tell. Manchester United won AC Milan's midfielder Tijani Reinders. Chelsea tracking Joshua Zirkzee at Bologna, face competition from Arsenal, Manchester United, and Barcelona. Joshua Kimmich set to leave Bayern Munich at the end of the season because his relationship with Thomas Tuchel has broken down, according to Bild. Aston Villa unlikely to turn Nicola Zaniolo's loan from Galatasaray into a permanent this summer. He wants to go back to Serie A. Villa considering a move for Red Bull Salzburg's 19-year-old midfielder Oscar Gluck. Brentford director of football Phil Giles, former Monaco sporting director Paul Mitchell, and ex-Roma GM Thiago Pinto are candidates to replace Dan Ashworth at Newcastle. Arsenal considering a move for Ollie Watkins. Gareth Southgate monitoring 3 uncapped midfielders. Manchester United's Kobe Mainu, Everton's James Garner, and Fulham's Harrison Reed before the friendlies against Brazil and Belgium next month. 4-letter paper. Take the information at your own peril. Technical director Tim Steiden is unhappy, may leave West Ham at the end of the season. West Ham have put former Wolves manager Juan Lopetegui, Steve Cooper, and Graham Potter on the list of successors to David Moyes, whose position is under threat. It's always under threat. It's a day that ends in Y. 4-letter paper. We mentioned Eric Ramsey, nothing officially official. West Ham, Crystal Palace, Southampton considering a move for Sunderland's forward Jack Clark, who's valued at £20 million. So those are the moves that are currently being stared at. Once again, reminders, tonight. Doubleheader, North DeKalb Stadium. It's Chambly High School doubleheader tonight, 6 o'clock. It is Chambly girls, Stars Mill girls. Jason will have the call on that. 8 o'clock, Maddie and I will have the call on Pope boys, Chambly boys. And at 10 o'clock on 92.9 The Game, Jason will be live from North DeKalb Stadium with Atlanta Soccer Tonight. So busy night here on the network. Soccerdownhere.mixlr, mixlr.com. It's where all of our live events are now. We've gone over to Mixlr for the live events, and you can listen to them. They're archived. You can listen to them at any time. They're always going to be there for you. So it'll be a big round of live high school action tonight. Remember, once again, tomorrow, 6 to 8, very, very cool event that's going to happen at Elsewhere with the Flood Project. Skate Knopfsinger is going to join us and have a bit of an opening season kickoff with your thoughts on Atlanta United, her thoughts on Atlanta United. Elsewhere Brewing, the Greenhouse location, 950 West Marietta Street, Northwest Atlanta, and that is from 6 to 8 tomorrow night. VP Chief Business Officer Sarah Kate Knopfsinger, Skate Knopfsinger, is going to join us. We'll talk Atlanta United, talk a little business. It's going to be fun to catch up with skate. 2024 season kickoff. Thanks once again to our friends at the Flood Project, Scott Flood, for orchestrating that. So we'll be at Elsewhere at the Greenhouse, West Marietta Street, from 6 to 8 tomorrow night. Then Thursday, we get to breathe and get ready for Friday, where Jason is flying to Columbus, and he and Mike will be calling the match early on Saturday afternoon with Atlanta United Columbus Crew. And Friday night, we will have the Whitfield County versus Hall County doubleheader on the network. It will be Northwest Whitfield and East Hall, followed by Dalton and Johnson Gainesville. So both of those matches will be on the network on Friday night after we get to catch our breath on Thursday and try to get enough paper where we can have rosters and know what we're talking about for Friday night as well. So big week when it comes to high school football. That's true. High school soccer, and getting ready for everything on Major League Soccer. Once again, tomorrow, Lucas Panzica, the voice of Nashville SC, joining us at 9:05. Hopefully Dylan Butler, the busiest man in show business, can join us at 10 and talk about everything in the Eastern Conference. 10 o'clock Thursday, Jason joins us, and at 10:30, Nico joins us for the first time in a while since he's been on vacation. And then 9:30 Friday, once again, our friends from Beyond Goals, efforting a guest once again on Friday morning at 10 o'clock. So we'll hopefully have another friend joining us that we are efforting Friday at 10 o'clock. So also what to watch today and where to watch it. So that's always just as important as we get everything all figured out. And after we do this, we'll bring in Maddie to kind of recap yesterday and the conversations that she had and get you ready for the rest of the day here. You got Being in Espanol, simulcasting Copa Libertadores, 5 and 7:30. If you don't have BN, you can get it at Fanatis, fntz.co/soccer down here. Helps out the network, helps out the show, and it helps you continue to add countries to your degenerate watching of everything going on in the sport of soccer. Portuguesa, Palestina, and Always Ready and Sporting Cristal is your doubleheader. Champions League today, 3 o'clock. Inter and Atletico Madrid. It's on Big CBS. FS2 has the CONCACAF Hemispheric Extravaganza. The doubleheaders, and it's all caps in Houston at 8. Saprissa in Philadelphia at 10. 2:30 today is one of the makeup games. Manchester City and Brentford at 2:30. Must win for Manchester City if they're going to stay in the hunt in 1, 2, and 3. And make sure that Liverpool's keeping an eye over their shoulder. So USA 2:30, Manchester City and Brentford. ESPN Deportes, the W Gold Cup at 7:30 and 10:15. The U.S. is playing the Dominican Republic tonight at 10:15. Mexico and Argentina at 7:30. Galavisión is simulcasting Inter and Atletico Madrid. Gold TV, also a part of Fanatis, has Copa Uruguay at 6:30. Fanatis, you can get Gold TV, TSA, For the Fans, CDO, Liga 1 Max, all the BNs, all that stuff. 2 to NA, Champions League, 3 o'clock, PSV, Borussia Dortmund, and they'll also have Saprissa and Philadelphia Union at 10. Unimas is simulcasting Champions League, PSV, and Borussia Dortmund. The EFL Trophy is Blackpool, Peterborough United. Posh and Blackpool at 3. Gold Cup, they are simulcasting as well on the Plus. Paramount Plus, if you were up way early this morning, you could watch the AFC Champions League. I wasn't. Maybe you can tell me what happened. Argentine Primeras at 3 and 6, including our friends Defensa y Justicia, the doubleheader of the Champions League, and the doubleheader of the Gold Cup. Liga MX doubleheader on VIX at 7 and 10, Puebla Pachuca, Necaxa, and Chivas. So, Maddie, come on back in and let's recap what happened yesterday with all of your conversations on the network. What happened? What'd you learn?
So much stuff. Me and Abe talked a lot about just the upcoming MLS season, what our expectations are for, Columbus and Atlanta. Just talking a bit about, how it's kind of that rematch of the team that knocked us out of the playoffs, and then also to the team that ended up winning it all, and so we just talked a lot about that. We talked about the new kit, talked about how expensive it is to get the new kit, which is always fun. And then me and Bart talked a lot about just all things U.S. Women's National Team getting ahead of the Gold Cup starting tonight, which is going to be a lot of fun. Yep. Keep an eye out, at least from my end, on a recap show, possibly for tonight's matchup, hopefully by tomorrow or Thursday, maybe including me and Bart.
There you go.
Maybe if I can get Bart and I can steal him for 15 minutes of his time. But we talked a lot about that, just the upcoming match and, a lot of these new players talked about the absence of Alex Morgan not being in there. And just talked a bit about just the expectations for the Gold Cup. We also did some reffing down here, talked a lot about the MLS Pro ref situation. If you really want a good deep dive, we did talk a lot of just about that deal and why it wasn't taken. And it's not just about salary, pretty much. I'll put it like that. It's not just about salary.
Yeah.
We talked a lot about that. And, we just had a fun time. And we did mention Taylor Swift at the beginning. It was not all we talked about, but we could go on a tangent.
I know. No worries. I figured there was going to be some Swiftie discussion.
We will ask and request that once her new album drops, we take a good hour on the network to talk about it.
Yeah, we got space. That's all the space is all about. You can take it cut by cut and do your analysis, and
we will.
It's all good. All right, so we'll be back at it again later today. It is 6 and 8 for the matches. We'll be on a little before 6 for the girls' match, a little before 8 for the boys' match, and then we will be back at it again 9:05 tomorrow morning. Once again, Lucas Panzica, play-by-play voice of Nashville SC, will be joining us, and we can tell Lucas about Julian Gaines because we saw him in Huntsville, Alabama this past weekend. So we can we can give him all the intel about Julian Gaines. So that'll be really good. Maddie, as always, thanks again for all the yeoman work that you did yesterday while I was off on my field trip, and got everybody ready for the power hour yesterday afternoon. So we'll be back at it again a little before 6 and a little before 8, and back at it again here at 9:05 tomorrow morning. So that is what they would commonly refer to as a show. For Maddie, for Glenn Davis, it was great to have Glenn on to catch up with everything going on there in Houston, talk a little Stones and turn it into analogies down here and all that kind of stuff. Great to have Glenn on. Great to catch up with all of you guys. Great to be back here for the morning show. Back in a little under 22 hours, and we'll keep rolling with the previews because Messi and friends play RSL tomorrow night. The season officially underway for 2024 in Major League Soccer. So for Maddie and everybody here at SDH, I'm just John. Thanks for hanging out with us. It's another go-round of Soccer's Morning Show. Play it safe, everybody. Mucho platial. Since it's the end of the show, that means I get to do this. See you in the morning.